Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to record videos for junior classes as I have been receiving requests from few of my subscribers. So I have made certain playlists on my channel. You can refer to them from class 10, 11, 12, 9, and 7. So I'll be uploading videos. They are not complete as of now, but you can refer to those playlists. So right now I'll be starting with grade 7 here. And the very first chapter that we are going to do is three questions. In the previous times, there used to be a system that whenever the kings were unable to find answer to some good questions, they used to have courtiers. They used to have people who are really knowledgeable and they can give the answers properly, right? So, like if you know the story of Akbar and Birbal, Akbar used to always get in touch with Birbal for some important questions. So here also something of this sort is going to happen, but it is with a king. So let us quickly start the chapter. See, the name of the chapter, as you can see here, is three questions. That means the king here, the main character of the story here, will be looking forward to these three questions, the answer to these three questions. The thought came to a certain king. To a certain means any. There's one king. They have not specified it. So one day what happened? A thought came to a king. And what was the thought? That he would never fail if he knew three things. These three things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? And what is the most important thing for him to do? So he said that one day a king was sitting very normally and he had a thought in his mind. Now, what was the thought? The king thought that he will be successful in life. He will never fail in life if he knows the answer of these three questions. First question was, what is the right time to do anything? So he wanted to do the right time. Second was, which are the people that he should listen to, because in his kingdom there are so many people, so he cannot be listening to all of them. So are there any specific types of people that he should pay attention to? And what is the most important thing for him to do? Like, there are so many things in a day, but what is the most important thing that he can do? The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these three questions. So now the king himself, he could not go to everybody and ask these three questions. So what he did, he arranged a small, you can say, a message. Like, these messengers are the people who convey the message of king to the people. So you can say the king and people. So the king cannot directly talk to these people. So who will talk on king's behalf? Messenger. So the king sent these messengers to send a public announcement, you can say. There was an announcement that anybody who would answer these three questions for the king will get a large sum of money. Promising means he promised that he will give a good amount of money to those people who will be ready to answer. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. So now very of the wise people came, but they answered differently. Like, somebody said that this is the right thing to do. Somebody else said that is the right thing to do. So there were different answers to the question. In reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable. So if you remember, the first question was, what is the right time to do anything, right? What is the right time? So the answer given by that you should make a timetable. But they said that you should make a timetable and then follow it strictly. Only in this way they said could you do everything at its proper time. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time. Now somebody suggested the king that you should make a timetable, right? So you will know at what time you have to do what, and that is the right time to do anything. Suppose if you want to go for a walk, so first of all you should make a timetable that will you go in the morning or the evening. Then you decide a time. Then you know by yourself that this is the right time to go and attend any. This is the right time when you go and attend or when you go or a walk. Okay. The king should advance, and the other people said that it was nearly impossible. Some of them even said that it is not possible for anybody to decide in advance. Like, we do not know. Time is not static. It is very, it keeps on moving. We may have time now, we may not have. Suppose if I make a timetable today that at 2 o'clock I have to watch a television, but for some reason my friends give me a call and ask me that I have to go and meet her. So timetable is not a fixed thing. So the other people said that it is not possible to decide. The answer to this question is none. It is not possible to decide in advance. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. So some people even said that he should just avoid all the unnecessary things and observe what is happening around him. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. And some of them even suggested that he can make a council of wise men. Council, you can say, a group of people who can suggest him, who can advise him on this matter. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly without help from others, the right time for every action. So they said because from one person you cannot expect that he will give the right answer. That suggestion must be discussed with other people also. And then on one unanimous decision, that decision must be given to the king. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future. And only magicians could do that. The king, therefore, would have to go to the magicians. Now, some of the people said, if you will depend on so many people for the right decision, and suppose if the decision is of something very urgent, suppose there is a war and you have to finalize the army. So you cannot wait for the council of members to choose people from the army, or you cannot wait for so many people. At that point of time, you have to act immediately. So many of the people said that, see, you cannot decide the right time depending on so many people. But magicians can do that because they can tell you what is going to happen in the future. So they can foresee. So some of the people suggested that it is better for the king to look after a magician because he is the only person who can give the right answer. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Others said the priest, a few others chose the doctors, and yet others said that his soldiers. Now, some of them said that the counselors were the most important person to the king, because that was the second question, that who are the people that he should listen to. First question was the time. People gave different answers. Now, second question was, who are those people that they should listen to? So there are the answers. Somebody said that you should listen to the counselors. Counselors are people who are member of the council. Somebody said you should listen to the priest. Somebody said you should listen to the doctor. And others said that you should listen to the soldiers. Now the third question. The third question, some said science, others chose fighting, and yet other religious worship. So the third important question was, what is the most important thing for the king to do? Some of them said that you can get involved in science, you can choose to fight, and you can even go for the religious worship. So for all three, there were different answers. As the answers to his question were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. So he did not give any reward to such people because he was not satisfied with the answers. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. So now hermit is a person who lives alone in a small village. You can say he's a very simple person, but hermit here, a person who's living in a very secluded, in a very separate village, he must have seen many things around him, right? And that is why people used to believe that hermits are usually very smart and they have good information about it, right? They are wise, they know, they have a lot of knowledge because they observe world through a different angle. We observe world through a different place because we have so many things around us. But people who are living in a very small place, silent place, and they meditate and they live life very simply, they are considered to be very wise. So similarly, in the story, there was a hermit who was living in the forest and he had a very small place to live and he was very simple. The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. So now the king planned to meet this hermit. So the hermit used to live in a wood. He used to live in a forest. Wood here is basically forest. And he never, there was a forest, and in forest there was a hut also. So now the hermit, he always used to see simple people around him because he was living in the forest. Similarly, when king decided to meet the hermit, he thought that I should change my clothes to ordinary people also. I want to meet him as an ordinary person and see how he interacts with me. So because the king had to look ordinary, because hermit had only seen ordinary people, so he left his horse with the bodyguard also. Like he went on foot. He did not go with anybody. As the king came near the hermit's hut, saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. Greeted the king and continued digging. The hermit was old and weak, and as he worked, he breathed heavily. So when the king actually saw the hermit, at that point of time, he was digging the ground which was in front of the hut. And very politely, he saw the king And he greeted him very respectfully. He said, "Welcome and good afternoon," whatsoever. And the physical appearance was that the hermit was very old and weak. And as he worked, because he was old, he was breathing heavily. The king went up to the hermit and said, "I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer three questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important?" So the king went to the hermit and asked the same question, that, "See, I am in a dilemma. I am not able to decide the answer of these three questions." The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. Now, this was a very surprising thing. The hermit listened to all the questions of the king, but he did not answer. He went on digging. Like, went on here means continue. He continued to dig the ground. "You are tired," said the king. "Let me take the spade and work in your place." Okay, so spade is an instrument that is used to dig the ground. Now, when the king saw that hermit had not replied, the king requested the hermit that, "I think you are tired. Let me do the work for you, and you can give me the answer." "Thanks," said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Then he sat on the ground. So the hermit actually gave the spade to the king, and then the hermit sat on the floor. When the king had dug two beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade, and said, "Now you rest and let me work." So now, while the king was already working, he had already dug two beds. Like, you can say the beds are very small patches on the ground. So he had already dug two patches and he was constantly repeating the question. So when he repeated the question second time, the hermit stood up and said, "Now you have, you know, dug my the patches on the ground and it's enough for me. Now you give me the spade and I will do the work." But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. But the king refused to give the spade and he said, "I will continue digging." 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, "I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. Here comes something running." Now the king was a little upset. He said that, "I had come to the hermit to ask for a specific answer, but the hermit is not interested in answering that." So king very upfrontly, very directly asked the hermit, "See, if you do not want to answer, you can tell me directly. It's okay." The king, "I will go back." The king turned around and saw a bearded man running towards them. His hands were pressed against his stomach, from which blood was flowing. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed and would until at the last bleeding stop. So now, when the king and the hermit were having this discussion, there was a man who came running and he had his hand on his stomach. Like, the expression on the face was that he was in deep pain and there was a wound on his stomach. And when he removed his hand, there was all blood flowing from his stomach. When the king saw, he changed the clothes of the that wounded man and used his own handkerchief to stop the blood. After a lot of attempts, the blood stopped gradually. The man felt better and asked for something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. By this time, the sun had set and the air was cool. The king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. The king, tired by his walk and the work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept through the night. So now they put the man, like they said that they're going to give some food and something to rest also. So the king gave him some water and food to eat and allowed him to lay on the inside the hut. And by the time, the king was also very stressed and he was very weak, and he was also tired because he had dug so many beds and patches on the ground. He decided to sleep. When he awoke, it was several minutes before he could remember he was, or who the strange bearded man lying on the bed was. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice when he saw the king was awake. "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you," said the king. So now what happened? Before the king could wake up, he saw the bearded man, and the bearded man automatically was saying, "Sorry, please forgive me." The king said, "I don't know who are you. You are a stranger to me. So why are you asking for forgiveness? You do not know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who swore revenge on you because you put my brother to death and seized my property. I knew you had gone alone to see that hermit, and I made up my mind to kill you on your way home. But the day passed and you did not return. So I left my hiding place and I came upon your bodyguard, who recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from him, but I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds. I wish to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now, if I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant and will order my sons to do the same. Forgive me. So, now what happened? Many years back, the king had actually killed this man's brother for property, and he has seized his land. Seized his land means he has captured, taken his property. Many years back, this king must have killed this man's brother due to property issues. So this man who was wounded, he had actually come to kill the king. He was following the king's action, and this man was aware that this king is going alone to meet the hermit. This news was shared with him, right? And one day he went outside his home, like he left his hiding place. The king did not return. So the next day he went to the bodyguard, and the body was able to recognize this person, that he understood that he is the enemy of the king, and he severely wounded him. The bodyguard wounded him badly. So now here the man is feeling very compassionate. The man says that I actually came to kill you, but here you are dressing my wound. So I am emotionally touched. So from today, I'm going to be your most faithful servant, and I'm going to give you a lot of things that you desire. But I'm never going to cheat you, and I will be your protector for life. But I need your forgiveness. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily and to have won him over as a friend. He not only forgave him, but said he would send his servant and his own doctor to live after him, and he promised to give back the man his property. Now the king was very happy. He really felt nice that he had made an enemy his friend without making an effort. Now, if you see, there was no effort by the king. The king had done only good deeds, and the result of the good deed what was that he turned his enemy into a friend. So now he did not only forgive this man, but he said that I'm going to send you some servants. I'm also going to give you some doctors to take care of you, and I will also return your property. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked round for the hermit. Before going away, he wished one more to get answers to his questions. The hermit was on his knees, sowing seed in the bed that had been dug the day before. The king went up to the hermit and said, for the last time, I beg you to answer my question. Now, after having this short conversation with that person, the king went out to see the hermit, and he requested. And what was hermit doing at that point of time? He was sowing seed. See, the ground has already been dug by the king. Now it was time for sowing the seed. So he was sowing seeds in that area while the king requested that I have come here for the last time. If you could please answer those three questions. You have already been answered, said the hermit, still bending down to the ground and looking up the king as he stood. Now, again, the hermit gave a very shocking answer. He said that you have already got your answer. How have I been answered? What do you mean? But the king was not able to understand how he has been able to get the answer. Do you not see, replied the hermit, if you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away. Then that man would have attacked you and you would have wished you had stayed with me. So the most important time was when you were digging the bed, and I was the most important man. And to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when the man ran to us, the most important time was when you were caring for him, because if you had not dressed his wound, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was the most important business. So very beautifully he explained. He said, see, when you see me, like this is Hermit. Hermit said, when I was digging the bed, you came to me and you helped me, right? So this is something that was important for you to do, right? You came at the time when I was digging the bed. If you had not done this, you would have gone back and this man would have attacked you. So that was the most important time when you were digging, right? See, the king helped the hermit. That means the most important person at that point of the time was hermit. This is the answer to the third question. Important people. Now talking about important time, the important time was when the king was himself digging the bed. Because if he has not dug the bed, he would have gone back, and on the way he would have met this person who would have attacked and killed him. So what was the most important time? When he was digging the beds. Now you can say that what was the most yeah, and if you see most important time was digging the beds, and most important man here was the hermit. and most important business was to do good to the hermit, right? Now, if we see the condition of the king and the man here, the most important time was when you were caring for the man. You were caring for the man because if you had not cared for this man, the man would not have told you something, right? So here the most important person for the king was man. So now you can see from the most important person, hermit, to the most important person, man. He has, the king has changed the most important people. So what are you able to understand from this? The time, place, and thing cannot be constant. They cannot be the same. They may change. Now, if he had not dressed his wound, he would have died without having made peace, right? And he helped the man with the wounds. So this was the most important task for him, right? This was the most important business to help the man. Remember that there is only one time important, and that is now. It is the most important time because it is the only time we have any power to act. So he said, instead of finding the best time, powerful time, you should remember that present time, now. Whenever you are in that particular point, that is the time for you because it is that point where you have the power to act. You can take an action, and that is the most important time for you. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment. So who is the most important person for you? Suppose you are in a class, or suppose you are having your lunch. So most important person will be the person you are with at that particular moment. And because nobody knows what is going to happen in the future, whether we will meet anyone else. And the most important business is to do that person good because we are sent into this world for that purpose alone. So see, what is the most important time according to the hermit? Present, now. And what is the most important person? Who's the most important person? The person who is with you at the moment. And what is the most important thing to do? To do good with this important person and with others also. Do good with this important person and others also, because this is your purpose in life, right? That is our sole purpose. So this is how the hermit beautifully answered 3 questions of the king. I hope this chapter was clear to you. Keep sharing, keep subscribing, and keep liking my videos. Thank you.